Last month, I started speaking publicly regarding my concerns about the attacks of September 11, 2001, which brought down the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, as well as Building 7. If you've watched the media coverage since I first began to speak out, you know how vicious and irrational it has been towards me. The media have worked hard to try to make it seem silly to even question the 9/11 Commission report, even though some of its own authors have done so, including both of the Commission co-chairmen, Mr. Hamilton and Keene. Actually, the 9/11 Commission report represents just one theory, the theory that fire and the damage from the airplane impacts brought down the three buildings. This theory explains none of the features of the destruction that we all witnessed that day and which we can still observe on hundreds of videos. It explains nothing about how, in 4 of 4 cases, no hijacking code was transmitted by the hijacked airliners. And in 4 of 4 cases, no fighter jets managed to get alongside any of the hijacked airliners. The military officers who lied to Congress about their failure to protect America would have been referred for prosecution by some of the 9/11 commissioners, but those commissioners were told that they did not have that authority. The events of that day were a heinous crime. They were against our nation and our citizens, and the sense of justice that exists in each of us demands to know what really happened and how all the perpetrators will be caught and punished. The speculation and theorizing won't end until a thorough, transparent investigation, free of conflicts of interest, takes place. Among the many theories that you can find on the internet is one that rises above all the rest. It is rock solid, confirmed by hard evidence, and supported by hundreds of scholars, architects, engineers, and other professionals who have the education, training, and expertise to know what they're talking about. This is the theory that explosive demolitions brought down the Twin Towers and Building 7. I've placed a handout on each of your desks inside of the manila folder, and that has a photo of one of the towers as it begins to collapse. I'd like you to take a look at that photo, if you will. Notice in that picture that you see steel beams being flung outward from the building and great huge clouds of dust that is actually pulverized concrete. A building that falls down doesn't pulverize itself into dust as it dropped.
You have 2 110-story office buildings. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big. The building collapsed to dust.
And you see, and there's no concrete. There's very little concrete. All you see is aluminum and steel.
What happened to the concrete?
The concrete was pulverized. And I was down here Tuesday, and it was like you were on a foreign planet. All of Lower Manhattan, not just this site, from river to river, there was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized. And
Yet the concrete in the towers was blasted into powder that covered all of Manhattan. Think about this now. You can see that powder already being formed long before that upper section has fallen more than a few floors. As you look at that photo, ask yourself, is this a picture of a building collapsing, or is this a picture of a building exploding? Does a building that collapses have the ability to fling its own steel beams sideways up to 600 feet? Does a building that is just starting to collapse blast its contents outwards in a massive cloud of dust? What do you see in the photo? I see an explosion, and so do millions of other people who are demanding a real investigation. More important than simply looking at a photo, engineers, architects, and scientists have evaluated the rubble at ground zero and other aspects of the buildings, and they have found evidence of at least 15 different characteristics of explosion. These 15 characteristics are listed on the handout as well. Despite the media's outrageous attacks on my sanity, intelligence, and patriotism, the emails and phone calls to my office have been 95% supportive of my request for a new investigation. I've been amazed, really, to see just how overwhelmingly the public rejects the official reports, not only of the 9/11 Commission, but also those of FEMA and NIST, which is your National Institute of Science and Technology. I assumed that expressing skepticism about the official story of 9/11 would be a punishing issue for an elected official, but I'm finding that it's quite the opposite. The public wants its leaders to stand up and be counted when it appears that something is wrong. The truth will set you free. Blair Gadsby and my guests today want the truth about 9/11. The American people want the truth about 9/11. They want an independent investigation, and so do I.